Hello, YouTube, and welcome to Binary Briefings. Now, when it comes to Iran, Israel, and the United States, there is no standing on the side of right. And what we're going to do is we are going to look at timelines to determine who's right and who's wrong. And I just want to go ahead and let the cat out of the bag and give you guys the end at the beginning. No one's right. We are all wrong. Now, we're not going to look at the United States timeline, even though that's a video in and of itself. We are going to look at Iran and Israel's timelines of destruction. Before we get into that, I would like to talk about a personal matter that I have. Something that I discovered about myself is that I'm not good at maintaining friendships. As I look back over my life and reflected, I've noticed that friends, they come and go in my life. Now, I don't have very many friends. I know, sad, pathetic, right? But I digress. I don't have very many friends, but the ones that I do have, I was curious as to why they're not as prominent in my life anymore. No real phone calls, no real meetups. We don't even connect on social media anymore. But if we see each other in passing, it feels like we could sit there and talk. If we see each other at sporting events where our kids are, we could sit there and catch up. But there's no real like glue holding the friendship together. Now, I was looking at my timeline with some of the people in my life that I would consider my best friends, especially one person in particular that I'm trying to reconnect with. And as I'm looking back over the timeline of our friendship, I noticed that it's not them, it's me. For whatever reason, because I guess I'm so busy, I sabotage friendships in order to not have to spend the time necessary that it takes to maintain positive, good relationships or friendships with those that I consider important in my life. Outside of my immediate family, it is very, very difficult for me to give up my precious time. So I was looking back at my timeline of friendships and I realized I am the destructive one in the friendship. So what that did was it allowed me to grow mentally and physically as I'm able to see myself in a mirror. And I think that is the biggest problem that Iran, Israel, and the United States are facing right now. So let's go ahead and jump into our New York Times article today. Don't forget, if you have not subscribed to the New York Times, you can get their paid subscription like I got, or you can go to your local library and you can go ahead and look up articles there on their computers for free. And I want to thank YM for letting that information be known. But what we're going to do is we are going to jump into our New York Times article. I have two of them today. So this is going to be a special treat. The first article that we're going to cover is President Trump saying that, he is ready to review the latest proposal by Iran. Now, as he reviews this, he already wrote them off before he even read the proposal. Now, that right there is mind blowing to me. So let's go ahead and read this together, shall we? And remember, I don't read the entire article because I want you guys to read it yourselves or get the subscription. Yes, shameless plug. Yes, I would like to be sponsored. So Trump says he is reviewing Iran's latest offer but doubts it is acceptable. He hasn't even read this shit, and he's doubting it's acceptable. It's about to get deep. Let's read. The comments came one day after President Trump flatly rejected the proposal. Listen to this. He later clarified he was only briefed on the concept of the deal. Let's rewind. The comments came one day after President Trump what? Flatly rejected the proposal. One day later. Oh, my bad. I didn't even read the proposal. They just briefed me on the concept, and I was like, no, sir. No, sir. Now, this article was written by Ashley On. Shout out to her. I see you getting into the thick of it, Ashley On. So let's go ahead and jump right into it before we get into the meat, the steak and potatoes of this briefing. The ceasefire between the United States and Iran remained in limbo after President Trump said Saturday evening on social media that he was reviewing Iran's latest proposal but can't imagine that it would be acceptable. He's reading it with a heavy lens of skepticism. So he's not even really trying to consider anything that they're trying to say if it doesn't say, we retreat, we surrender, whatever you want, we shall do. That's what he wants to see. That's what he wants to hear. That's what he wants to read. The comments came one day after Mr. Trump had flatly said he was not satisfied with the latest offer from Iran, which Iranian state media said was sent to Pakistani mediators on Thursday evening. Remember, he flatly said he was not satisfied based on a briefing of some people giving him the concept of the deal. He hasn't even read this shit. So that was on Thursday. But on Saturday evening, the president did clarify to reporters that he had only been briefed on the concept of the deal and had not seen the details. I can't believe this shit. They are going to give me the exact wording now, he said just before boarding a plane in Palm Beach, Florida. In a post on Truth Social, Mr. Trump cast doubt that the latest proposal would satisfy him, asserting that Iran has not yet paid a big enough price for what they have done to humanity in the world for over the past 47 years. And we are going to stop right there. And I am going to look directly at you guys. And we are going to talk about what he's talking about. And we are going to go over the timeline together. So he said this latest proposal, he doubts is going to satisfy him, not the United States, but him, because Iran has not yet paid a big enough price for what they have done to humanity in the world for over the past 47 years. So since I was born, President Trump wants them to pay for their sins and transgressions. So what happened? What did Iran do in 1979 to the 1980s? What did they do? I know there was a hostage crisis and proxy of warfare. Iran seized 66 American hostages at the U.S. Embassy in Tehran. Throughout the 80s, Iranian-backed Hezbollah conducted suicide attacks. So the Hezbollah conducted suicide attacks in Lebanon, including in 1983 U.S. Embassy and Marine compound bombings in Beirut, killing over 200 Americans. Okay, that's bad. So what happened in the 90s, in the 2000s? Terror sponsorships? Regional attacks? So in 1996, Hezbollah al-Hajjaz with Iranian links bombed the Kabul towers in Saudi Arabia, killing 19 U.S. airmen. Following the 2003 U.S. invasion of Iraq, Iranian supplied militias were responsible for the deaths of hundreds of American personnel. Okay, so far, I'm understanding what Trump is saying. All right, what happened in the 2000s to 2015 with Iran? Nuclear developments. Here we go. In sanctions. This is why. Well, sort of. You know, we know money, money and oil, oil and money, oil equals money, 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 money. We know that government lining their pockets with this war. However, they are using nuclear developments, weapons of mass destruction. So in 2002, 2015, Iran's covert nuclear program was revealed in 2002, leading to decades of Western economic sanctions and tensions over suspected nuclear weapons development. All right, so that's kind of where we're at right now. We're trying to stop them from developing weapons, and we're going to talk nuclear weapons, and we're going to talk about that a little bit more as we read just a little bit more of the article of Trump not necessarily paying attention or reading or even knowing what's in the proposal, but already rejecting it. We're going to talk about that more. But then there's the maritime and regional escalation, 2000 what 19 to 2026. Iran has increased attacks on commercial shipping in the Strait of Hormuz. That's what we're dealing with right now. And initiated drone strikes against U.S. bases in the Middle East. Now, they haven't really been killing us, so that's good. They haven't really been killing us, so that's good. But they ain't scared to go to war with us. They ain't scared. They ain't scared. And we're going to talk about that in a second. So, what about the present? Iran in the present, because we're going over these destructive timelines. We have a direct conflict right now. Don't forget, it's the 12-day war. We have a ceasefire right now, right? So, between Iran and Israel slash United States forces, Iranian attacks continue on British and American interests, including alleged missile attacks near Diego Garcia and Port Shuaib. So there we go, right there. There has been a shit ton of destruction going on. Iran has been showing they arse for the past 47 years, just like Trump said. However, we have to look at both sides. I want to show another article before we finish the article at hand. I just want to show you guys what Israel is currently doing on in Lebanon, because there is some heavy destruction going on, and I want to show you guys so that we don't look at this war and this fight and this conflict. We don't. It's not like this image in our brain, but it's real. Y'all got to see the realness. It's not like this fictional shit going on the other side of the planet that doesn't necessarily affect. No, these are real people being affected. So let me go ahead and share my screen again. All right. So how Israel is using the same tactics in Lebanon. Look at this. Boom. So I shared my screen right there for you. Let me go ahead and take a peek on over. Give me a second. My computer is trying to catch up with the speed at which, there we go. Boom. Looking on over. Boom. All right. So that is not a video game you are seeing. That is not computer generated shit that you are seeing. That is actual destruction in 6 different places in Lebanon that Israel is applying that pressure. Israel said it's applying the Gaza model in Lebanon. This is what the destruction looks like. Okay? Now, an entire street is leveled. Houses and shops are flattened. Look at this, including a popular cafe. This is what is left of a town in Bent Jabel, just a couple of miles from the Israel border, nearly 2 months after Israel relaunched its ground offensive in southern Lebanon. Look at this shit. Can you imagine this being your neighborhood? That was a mosque right there. Can you imagine this being your neighborhood? Are y'all looking at this? Cafe and gaming center, gas station. Are y'all seeing this shit? Damn. The destruction of this town, a Hezbollah stronghold. Okay, that tells you a lot. We just read about Hezbollah and their terroristic ways, right? So is there justification for Israel? I don't know. That's for you to determine. So, the destruction of this town, a Hezbollah stronghold, is repeated again and again across southern Lebanon, a lush region of undiluted vistas where Israel has raised border villages as part of an effort to lay the groundwork for a larger occupation. All right, so this is just one of, look, they handling business, y'all. They handling business. Look at that. And that's the aftermath. That's a school right there, government office right there. Damn. The approach Israel's defense minister Israel Katz said was modeled on tactics the military used in Gaza, where the Israeli military reduced entire neighborhoods, buildings, and streets to rubble. After the war between Israel and Hezbollah reignited in early March, when Hezbollah attacked Israel in solidarity with Iran, Israel established a several mile deep buffer zone that it says it will continue to occupy until the threat as Hezbollah is contained. Now, I want to stop there. I don't want to read anymore because I want to get down to the nitty gritty of this mother effing timeline and why they are fighting the way that they are. Now, there are some people that study deep history and they take this conflict between Iran and Israel back to biblical days. They go back to Jacob and Esau. They go back to oh my gosh. Dang, now it's escaping my brain. It's escaping my brain. Dang, it is like it is escaping my brain. Hold on, I'm gonna have to go ahead and look that up. Give me a second, y'all, because I want to make sure I do this right. I want to look it up. Why is it escaping my brain? Abraham's children. Abraham's children. Why is it escaping my brain? Abraham had a child with Hagar. Ishmael. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Yeah, Ishmael. Yeah, they take this back to Ishmael. Ishmael and Isaac, right? Ishmael and Isaac. Goodness. Yeah. So they're saying this stuff goes all the way back to Ishmael and Isaac. You know, Isaac being the chosen one and Isaac being Israel. You know what I mean? So some people just take it that far. But what I want to do is I want to go to Israel being reestablished in 1948 and getting the backing of the United States. Can we go there? Because that's where the Israel timeline really begins. All right. So, mind you, President Trump said that Iran has to pay for their sins against humanity that started 47 years ago, which was pretty much 1979. But we are going to take Israel back, what, 30 years? 30 years before President Trump said that Iran needs to pay for their sins. So let's go back 30 years. In 1948 to the 1950s, the Nakba approximately took out 750,000 to 800,000 Palestinians. expelled them from their homes. They became refugees. 750 to 800,000 Palestinians were forcibly expelled or had to flee from their homes. Also in the 48s and 50s, over 530 Palestinian villages were destroyed and depopulated. And we've seen that they're doing that shit right now. Now, is it justifiable? I'm not one to tell you whose side to be on because there is no standing on the side of right. No matter how you're feeling, you could be feeling like Israel is justified. You could be feeling like shit, Iran, the Palestinians, and all them are justified. You could be feeling those things, but everybody has sin and blood on their hands. What about massacres that were happening during this time? Numerous massacres were created out or carried out by Zionist militias and Israeli forces, including the Al Damyima's massacre. Hundreds were killed. The Abba Shusa massacre, 70 plus were killed. In the Lebanon massacre, 14 men were killed. What about the Kafr Qasim massacre? Border police killed 49 citizens, including women and children in a village that was under curfew. That was just the 1940s and 50s. What about Israel in the 1967 and in the 80s? This was occupation and invasion. Sound familiar? We're dealing with the 12-day war now. But in 67, it was a 6-day war. And the Nakba. Israel occupied the West Bank, East Jerusalem, Gaza Strip, Golan Heights, and Sinai. An estimated 430,000, Palestinians were forcibly displaced. That's the Nakba. Land confiscation and settlements happened. 1967. In 1967, Israel initiated a policy of seizing Palestinian land to build illegal settlements. And they're saying that is a practice ongoing to the present mother effing day. I hope I don't get in trouble by just exposing the truth. I'm telling you, I am not on nobody's side. I'm just an American that's reading the facts. In 1982, the Lebanon War, and you see what they're doing in Lebanon right now. A large-scale invasion of Lebanon resulted in massive destruction and high civilian casualties. That happened in 1982. I just showed you how that shit is happening in 2026. So let's go ahead and go to 1987 to 2005. So this is where we're getting into the intifadas. Now, an intifada is like the uprisings and shit like that. You know what I mean? It's just, So these are all the uprisings. So the first uprising, in restrictions. So we're going to get into that. So the Palestinians were like, well, damn it, we are tired of being oppressed. So they tried to have this uprising, but it was met with intense military crackdown, characterized by mass detentions and the destruction of properties. There was a second uprising or intifada characterized by widespread destruction of infrastructure, including intense military operations in Palestinian cities and refugee camps. So they even taken out the refugee camps. There's a separation barrier in 2002. So that began constructing a barrier. It began constructing a barrier that cut through the West Bank, resulting in the separation of farmers from their land and communities from their resources. Damn. What about 2007 to 2022? What about Israel in 2000? Destructive timelines. Destructive timelines. What about 2007 to 2022? We have a blockade going on right now, don't we? In the Strait of Hormuz, don't we have a blockade going on right now? In 2007 until now, there's a blockade of Gaza. We can't forget that shit. Following Hamas's rise to power, Israel imposed a land, air, and sea blockade, crippling the economy and restricting movement. In 2008, 2009, a military offense that resulted in over 1,400 Palestinian deaths, widespread destruction of homes, schools, and infrastructures, which the United Nations reported. They said that it was systematic policy of isolation. Damn. So in 2008, 2009, they are doing exactly what they're doing right before our eyes in 2026. 2014, Operation Protective Edge, a 50-day offensive that resulted in the deaths of over 2,200 Palestinians, of which more than 1,500 were civilians. There is no standing on the side of right. So what's going on in the present day? 2023 to the present day, what's happening? Unprecedented destruction that we are seeing. Since October of 2023, the war in Gaza has been described as one of the most destructive in modern history. The UN officials, they're calling it an ongoing genocide. Death toll and displacement now, today, as early as 2026, tens of thousands of Palestinians have been killed, with over 90% of Gaza's population displaced, and we are looking at that shit. Over 70% of residential areas, along with schools, universities, libraries, and museums, have been severely damaged or destroyed, and we looked at that shit. Systematic destruction of hospitals and medical facilities, causing a collapse of their healthcare system. Shit. They are weaponizing starvation. Obstruction of humanitarian aid. They can't even send no aid. You know, when the United States, when we take out some shit, take out some folk, we at least try to rebuild, send some aid. They are blocking aid, water, fuel, causing widespread hunger and disease. There are mass graves at hospitals and widespread torture of detainees, including sexual abuse by Israeli forces. That's what Boston University is talking about. They're saying it's apartheid, shit, discrimination. Human rights organizations and the UN have concluded that Israel's laws and policies toward Palestinian is a system of apartheid. Man, oh man, oh man. There is no standing on the side of right. A destructive timeline. It doesn't matter if you believe one is worse than the other. In my humble opinion, we are all wrong. Now, I want to finish this briefing by going back to the Trump article and how Trump is, I guess, reviewing the plan. Now, there is the prime minister. I am going to butcher his name, so just already get used to it. I'm just letting you know ahead of time. I'm going to butcher his name. But I want to highlight this before we get out of here. Don't forget, in the post on Truth Social, Mr. Trump cast doubt that the latest proposal would satisfy him, asserting that Iran has not yet paid a big enough price for what they have done to humanity and the world over the past 47 years. But what if we talk about the past 70 something years with Israel? You see what I mean? You see how I had to look at myself in the mirror and realize that when it comes to my friendships, I'm the one that's not a very good friend. I can't be pointing the blame to everybody else, even though in my friendships, yes, my friends have made some dumb, decisions and stuff as well. It's not just me, they have as well. But when I look into the mirror and I really reflect on my friendships, I see that with that timeline that I can look at as far as, this is when our friendship started and this is where we're at right now. I see that I am the one that had a lot of the power to maintain or to make right my friendships. And so that's why, with at least one of my really, really good friends, I'm trying to reconnect with him as we speak. But, anyways, let's end with this. In a meeting with foreign diplomats in Tehran on Friday, the country's deputy foreign minister, Qasim Kahrabadi, placed the onus on the United States to end the war. The ball is now in the United States courts to choose between diplomacy or continuing a confrontational approach, he said, according to the Iranian state media. He added that Iran was prepared to fight if military conflict between Iran and the United States resumed. Now, Israel is over there kicking ass. They're taking out weak infrastructures, they're taking out cities, neighborhoods, towns, civilians. And if I was Iran, the Palestinians, if I was them, I would be so upset, so mad. It's like you are going to have to wipe us out for what you're doing right now. But listen to what Trump says. On Friday, Mr. Trump said he was weighing all of his options, which included breaking the ceasefire. So now there's a threat being issued. Listen to this. Do we want to go and just blast the hell out of them and finish them forever? Or do we want to try to make a deal? Just so you know, he's talking directly to them. Although that's what he told reporters at the White House. He's talking directly to them. So you can read this like this. Do you want us to just blast you the hell up out of here and finish you forever? Or do you really want to make a deal? That's what he's saying to them directly. And then he says, those are the options. Those are the options. So Iran's new proposal no longer requires Mr. Trump to lift the blockade on Iranian shipping in the Strait of Hormuz before negotiators meet face to face, according to two senior Iranian officials. Now, what that's telling us is that whatever President Trump and the Trump administration and our military are doing, it is having an effect on Iran, and they are kind of weakening a little bit, because at first they didn't want to have nothing to do with nothing until that blockade was lifted. They didn't want to meet with us. They didn't want to talk to us. They weren't trying to hear none of that shit. But now I think they are really suffering. They are really suffering. They said that Iran was also willing to open the strait, a vital oil route before Mr. Trump announced an end to the blockade. So they're even now willing to go ahead and open it up. No negotiations needed, none of this, none of that. They want to open it up. They want to open it up. Now, while Iran would reopen the strait under the proposal, unblocking a waterway through which a fifth of the world's oil traveled before the war, Iranian officials said they would not discuss the future of the country's nuclear program until a later phase of talks after a permanent ceasefire was reached. Now, this is where we're going to end. That right there is the problem. The United States and Israel are concerned with the advancement of technology that deals with nuclear weapons in the hands of Iran. Because no amount of deals that they make, no amount of you can't do this for 3 years, you can't do that for 5 years, as we try to put restrictions on Iran and their nuclear developments, none of that shit is going to matter. Once they can get out of this war and they have some downtime, they are going to be developing their nuclear technology, although they're not supposed to. Don't forget, in 2002, there was a covert nuclear program that was discovered. So I'm pretty sure the reason why Trump says that proposal is not going to be good is because it does not eliminate Iran's ability for nuclear development. All right, y'all. That's going to be it. That's going to be all. Thank you guys so much for listening to Binary Briefings. I hope this helped you. I hope you guys are staying safe. You know what I mean? It is a tumultuous time to be alive, but it's also a blessing. Don't forget about all of your blessings. I'm not going to forget about my friendships. Those are blessings. I'm not going to forget about all the time that I need to be spending with my family. Those are blessings. Don't get so caught up in all of these worldly affairs that you forget about the blessings right underneath your nose. Have a beautiful rest of your day. Talk to you guys later.